Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is the result of a lot of hard work by the Capital Projects Advisory Review Board, and I sit on that board representing the Senate Democratic Caucus, and Senator Warnock represents the Senate Republican Caucus. And you'll notice that we are prime and second sponsor on the bill. This is actually a trailer bill from their reauthorization bill from last year. As you may or may not know, CPARB operates from a consensus basis. So everything they do has everybody's agreement on it. It's a very unique organization, to say the least, but it works very well to protect the interests of the people of the state of Washington as far as alternative public works contracting goes and the small works contracting processes. Last year we reauthorized CPARB, but this piece of the reauthorization, we couldn't quite get there last year. So we put it into the bill. That work was to continue on this piece and to come with a trailer bill this year. And as it was noted, that this deals a lot with minority business enterprise contracting opportunities, women business enterprise contracting opportunities, that sort of thing. So I commend it to you because it is the consensus work of that body. I will say, however, there's a piece that I personally have a problem with. I didn't feel it was right for me to change the bill since it is a consensus bill by that body. I want to present it to you as they presented it and wanted it passed. However, I will say that on the last point during the briefing, which said it removes the requirement for the Department of Enterprise Services to survey and which states provide a bidding preference on public works contracts for their resident contractors. So if you'll permit me just a couple minutes to tell a little history around this issue. When I was in the, I can't say house, opposite chamber, I sent a bill over to the Senate on consecutive sessions that gave in-state businesses bidding on contracts a slight preference. You know, it would give them a couple of brownie points because they're in-state. We want our state tax dollars to be circulated within the state, not to go encourage out-of-state generals to come in and take the work. So I sent it over, and you'll remember Senator Castema, I'm sure, did not like the idea. Well, I don't know if he didn't like it. He just said, we can't do that because other states will retaliate against us if we do. So I kept sending it over, and finally he put us all together and said, Hasegawa is going to keep sending this bill over here, so we might as well just set everybody around the table and let's figure it out. So at any rate, this had been a big issue because other states do retaliate. They have retaliatory clauses, which is why we have a retaliatory clause to protect our in-state businesses. And I saw on the intro sheet the other day that there is some bill to repeal our retaliatory clause in the state of Washington. So not just the surveying of what other states have these clauses, but we're going to now, apparently by this new bill that's filed, repeal our own retaliatory clause, which just totally gives out-of-state contractors the advantage over in-state contracts. So I hope to talk with the board about this some more and the chair about this particular clause in this bill. But that being said, and I appreciate you giving me the latitude on this, I commend the bill to you. Thank you.
Thank you. A little bit of history. Senator Valdez.
Okay, we have 4 individuals who have signed and testified. They've all are here in person. We'll start with Mark Riker, Janice Zahn, James King, and Chris Herman. Those are the 4.
All right. Well, good morning, Senator Hunt and Senate members. My name is Janice Zahn. I'm the chair of the Capital Project Advisory Review Board, and this bill language was recommended by the unanimous board before you for consideration. So I'm excited to be here in person to urge your support, because this bill came from over a year of work with the 21 members of CPARB. That includes owners, contractors, subcontractors, designers, WIMBY Voices, Charity, and private industry. And we thank Senator Hasegawa for being a dedicated, steadfast member of the CPAR board. And we're delighted that actually all 4 members of the legislature that's on the board have sponsored this bill, because it's an important bill. And we know that with the amount of public contracting that we have in the state of Washington, having efficient processes as well as equitable systems will help make sure that we continue to have a strong and vibrant small business community and have a pipeline to perform the work that's in front of us. As the senator mentioned, this bill is actually a result of the Business Equity, Inclusion Subcommittee that came out of Senate Bill 5356. And then Bill 5032 directed a local government study where, as a result of that, the small works roster and the changes before you emerged from that work together. We included many, many diverse voices from the community to make sure that as we reimagine what the small works roster would look like and how it works, that we were removing barriers and encouraging competition and growing our small business community so they can best pursue this work together. We also included a periodic threshold review of the small works roster, as well as other data and metrics by CPARB starting in 2025 and every 5 years thereafter, to make sure that we were taking a hard look to see what the data is telling us about what's going on. The parity with the small works limits for ports and irrigation districts would be effective starting in July of 2023. The rest of it is going to take some time for the different agencies to implement, so we're recommending July of 2024 for those. And I'm excited for the work that we've already started to do to look at what are all the aspects that have to happen in terms of the implementation.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, thank you.
Such timing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Mark Riker, Executive Secretary of the Washington State Building and Construction Trades Council, representing approximately 80,000 construction workers here in Washington State. And while I am a member of the CPAR board, I am not here testifying as a CPAR board member. Our good chair just did a very good job of that, and we're very supportive of this bill. One of the things that we're very supportive of is it standardizes things for consistency for the contracting community. At the very low end of contracting, below $5,000, it removes retainage and bonding, which are traditional barriers for small contractors getting started, while still protecting the rights of workers should a wage claim be unfortunately leveled at a contractor. The worker will still be made whole. You get to kind of the mid-level of the small works roster into the 150 range, you can direct hire and prioritize certain contracting entities to allow them to actually have some experience in the public contracting world and be able to become successful, so that when they get the ability to move beyond the small works contracting, they actually know and have experience and are successful, and they can grow their businesses that way. As good Chair Zahn said, this was a lot of work by a lot of really good folks. A lot of interests, varied interests were represented. And I really want to thank everybody who brought their varied interests to the table in a manner of how do we get there together. That's the number one thing that I think I take out of this effort. We got there together. We got a really good bill. It doesn't seem like it's that big of a bill, but sometimes you need to learn how to flex your muscles so you can grow to a bigger bill. And we have every intention of doing that with the periodic review that Chair Zahn mentioned. We're excited to continue that work. Some really good relationships have begun across difficult lines, but that's how you actually do really good public policy. And I do want to thank Senator Hasegawa for supporting this bill, bringing it forward. We're excited to be part of it. Traditionally, the building trades have been opposition to these types of things, but we are on this bill. We are very excited to be part of this one. Thank you.
And before you go ahead, Jim, as soon as we finish this panel, we'll go to the other bill so that Senator Saldana can give her testimony and get on her way. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Hunt, members of the committee. Jim King with Independent Business Association, representing small businesses and a lot of small contractors across the state. I really want to thank Senator Hasegawa for bringing this bill forward, too. I mean, this is a good small business bill. It will help minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned, and even old white guy-owned small businesses and small contractors. Public Works is daunting to the small contractor. They look at the requirements, they look at the ways you can unintentionally foul up in the penalties, and most small contractors do not want to get involved with Public Works. Small works rosters and the smaller projects give those that are willing to get their feet wet a chance to start learning these processes so they can, and I appreciate Mr. Reicher's comments that, you know, this does give them a chance to learn the process and get going. Requirements like prevailing wage apply from $1, and they have to learn that, but it's in a small project. They aren't having to deal with apprenticeship utilization requirements or all that, because that's larger projects. But it gives them a chance to get into it and, in many cases, assist their local governments who want to reach out to their local contractors to do work. They don't find the big general interested in doing a $5,000 job or even a $50,000 job. It's one of their local contractors that, and we do have contractors who will call us and say, well, I've just had a call from my local small school district, you know, they need me on this. Can you walk me through some of the process? So I think the bill will be very helpful. And to touch on Senator Hasegawa's concerns about out of state, small businesses don't usually come in from out of state to compete unless they happen to be right along the borders. And in many ways, they're our neighbor. They're not, you know. So the more you help small business, the more you're helping in-state. And we really appreciate this bill.
And one more.
Good morning, Chair Hunt and members of the committee. I also want to thank Senator Hasegawa for sponsoring this bill. I'm Chris Herman. I represent the 75 port districts with the Washington Public Ports Association. Happy to support this bill. You've heard about the significant work that's been done in this bill. Ports are particularly pleased to see Section 31 included in this bill. We've been working for a while to create parity in our public works statute, and this bill does indeed do that. I just want to give you an example of consensus building. This bill doesn't raise thresholds until 2025. That's been a big priority for port districts, especially given cost increases. And when you work for consensus, sometimes you don't always get what you want. So we're happy and very pleased to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Valdez.
And for the record, Mr. Chair, we had 17 sign in pro, 0 against, and 0 as other.
Okay, we will now move to